Hey friends, Jeff. We are doing another mistyping session, this time with Tammy in Michigan. Welcome, Tammy.
Hi, thank you. Really glad to be here.
I'm thrilled to have you. And you were telling me just before we started the type of work you do. What type of work do you do?
So I'm a little bit of a Jill of all trades, but I have two careers. My primary career is in instructional design and system administration. And then my secondary career is music performance.
Nice. Mm-hmm. What's your instrument?
Voice. I actually have a master's degree in voice performance with a focus on opera.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where'd you go to school?
I got my bachelor's at Saginaw Valley State University and then my master's at Western Michigan University.
That's a delight. What's your favorite piece that you've sung?
Oh gosh, that's a tricky one. I recently, in the past 2 years, completely rediscovered my voice, and so I have all this brand new repertoire that I'm working on. So it's really exciting, but I would say probably right now there is a piece from Massenet's opera Werther called Va laisser couler mes larmes. I can never speak that right. Va laisser couler mes larmes. And it's so stunningly beautiful.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you know many other languages then? Do you have to learn other languages to do opera?
Yeah, in music school, we had to focus on quite a few languages. So primarily French, German, Italian were the main ones that we focused on outside of English. But we also learned the International Phonetic Alphabet. So then when we had pieces in languages that may not have been in like the primary Romance languages, we had a tool to be able to learn.
Yeah. I didn't realize there was a phonetic international alphabet. This is news to me.
If you ever pull out a dictionary and you look and there's the word and then there's like the weird symbols next to it, that's all International Phonetic Alphabet.
Oh, well, that's fun.
Yeah.
That's very fun. Well, tell me about your family.
So I live in West Michigan with my husband, Caleb. He is my absolute best friend and adore him. We live here, I call it with our fur herd. So we have cats and they are our babies in our lives and we love them.
Perfect. How many cats do you have?
We have 5.
Yes, you do.
Too many?
Too many. Is it too many or is it just right?
Sure.
Okay, right?
Yes.
Would you mind if a neighbor adopted one of your cats?
Yes, I would mind a lot.
There you go. It's the right number.
Keep them with me forever, please. Thanks.
That's right. I just picked up 2 puppies and could absolutely see getting a third, which would be a mistake. But
as long as they have a friend, I think that's the most important thing. I just unfortunately am a gigantic softie when it comes to animals. And so if I see one that is like a charity case, I'm like, oh, here, let me save you. Does such rescuing, does that spill over into any other elements of your life or just for cats? No, that's definitely a key personality trait, I would say. I'm very much a person who I really love to support others and help them figure things out and learn and grow. And so I think I kind of just enjoy having things to take care of, people to support and love, and apparently cats too.
Do you find that you do that in your work at all?
I do, but I will say I work in IT. So with being in IT, this is the first organization I've worked at that didn't have their learning and development underneath human resources. And it's a very different beast because I feel like I'm softer than many of the people and teams that I work with because I have more of like that human oriented kind of focus. And not that our team doesn't, obviously, but it's just a little different.
Now, are you originally from Michigan?
I am born and raised in Michigan. I've lived all over the state.
Perfect. Do you still have family?
I do. And they're all up in the Tri-City area. So I always call it like the little notch. I'm doing the Michigan thing. I should do it the opposite hand though. So like right here.
This is a thing, apparently.
It is very much a Michigan
There's a
thing.
mitten involved in terms of geography for Michigan.
Yep, I think that's the telltale sign I'm a Midwest person when I'm like, where do you live? Oh, I'm here. I'm
Yes,
here.
right. That's it. So good. Well, is it the case that other people see your love and support as kind of one of the gifts that you bring to the relationships that you have?
I would say yes, but it's always really tricky. I am very much a person who I'm kind of I'm trying to think of the best words here. Let me try to formulate this. I'm a lot of contradictions in one
Mm-hmm.
person. So I am very nurturing and kind, but I'm also very blunt and direct. I'm very supportive, but I'm also very independent. And sometimes that rub can be really confusing for people because they're not sure where I'm landing in it because I'm so goofy and kind of effable when I talk to people. But then I'll also get very much to the point and be like, hey, this is what this looks like. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of all of this.
Yeah.
Which was a
Perfect.
big part of why mistyping was a large part of my life for a while.
So we'll talk about your experience of Enneagram here in a bit. I'll be curious to see what you've already done on that. Would you talk about feeling like you're independent for a minute?
So, without telling too much, my upbringing was very complicated. And I learned to be very self sufficient. I I'm basically the reason I graduated high school. I'm the reason I went to college. It's the reason I have 3 degrees. I'm the reason that I live independently and differently than the rest of my family. And that's of no fault of theirs. But I learned that the way that I'm able to live the life I want to live is to be incredibly independent and self reliant for better and for worse.
Mm-hmm. How, like in terms of saying the way you want to live, what do you mean by that?
My family they have opposing lifestyles to the lifestyle that I choose to live.
Mm-hmm.
And with that opposition, it can create, and it has created this sense that I'm kind of the black sheep of my family. And I have this very deep sense of not fitting in,
Yeah.
particularly with them, but it trickles everywhere.
Does that mostly come out of like the religious self understanding of your family, or is it something else?
Something else, actually.
Bing.
Yeah.
Talk about being blunt and direct.
So I'm very much a person that I approach any conversation I have with kindness, but with clarity. I never want someone to have to guess who I am, like, not who I am, but what I'm saying, what my intentions are. I don't tend to be duplicitous. I tend to be very much like, if this is what I'm feeling, I want to say what I'm feeling, but not in a way that's hurtful. It's always focused on being just true and supportive. And it can be tricky though, because sometimes it's not always received well when you say something to a person and they're like, oh, I wasn't prepared for that.
Yeah. Do other folks find you as overly aggressive?
No, not overly aggressive. People will find me to be very honest
Yeah.
to a point where I've never had someone call me aggressive. That's never been a word that's been utilized, but definitely direct and firm have been used
Sure.
before.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your relationship with yourself. Like, are you pretty clear about how you feel about most things?
I would say so. I think it took up until probably the past decade or so to really find more clarity in the things that matter to me and not focusing so much on perception and how others perceive me and the value that I bring to the table. So I feel very clear about what my compass is, the things that I care about, the things that are most important to me, the things that I kind of leave at the door. I've done a lot of work around that, and it's something I always continuously evaluate all of the time through conversations, journaling, all sorts of different things.
Is it the case that you're then very aware of other people's perception of you.
I am, unfortunately.
Yep. Would you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So I tend to be a person that when I walk into a room, I read the room. I am always observing people's nonverbal communication. I'm always trying to figure out where I stand with people. And I tend to be very hypervigilant when it comes to being accommodating to ensure that people know that I know what I'm doing and I bring value and worth.
Yeah. Do you find that you compare yourself with other people very often?
All the time.
What's one area that you might compare yourself?
Oh my gosh, what area isn't? For me, having been in the musical world, that's what you do. You work on repertoire, then you go to competitions and get judged, or you perform and you get judged, or you have your peers and your peers are all working with you, but you are judged against one another. And that mentality trickles into everything. So
Yeah.
I feel like in all areas of my life, I'm constantly thinking about who I am as almost as a performance in a way. It's authentic, but it's still very much like, I don't want to let people down. I don't want to make a fool of myself. I think that's really important to me too.
Bang. So you've done competitions then with music, not just performance.
Correct. Yep.
What can you describe?
Yeah.
Like, have you won anything?
I have. When I was in college, we would do these competitions called NATS. It was the National Association for Teachers of Singing. And teachers would bring their students in. It's all different sorts of universities, and it's regional. So I would compete typically in like the Midwest region of NATS. And I won 3 consecutive years I placed. My final year was my last year of graduate school, and I placed in their advanced men and women category for classical voice.
Bang. Talked about authenticity for a second. Would you talk about that in terms of a value that you hold?
It's really important to me that people feel like they can bring their full true selves to any interaction that they have, especially with me. I never want people to feel unsafe. And so creating a safe environment where people can be authentic is paramount to me. And in that, when I create that safety for others, that's also when I tend to find safety for myself. And it takes a very long time for me to fully show all the pieces of me. I feel them and they're internalized and real, and I follow my path, but trust is one of those things within it that I keep myself a little subdued and pulled back for a while until I have other people create that same safety that I create for them.
Yeah. Alongside comparison, do you find that you're a very envious person?
I can be. I've done a lot of work, though, to reframe the envy and use it to push myself forward and achieve and do all of those things. I'm sure you're starting to narrow to what my type may be.
We're bouncing all over the place.
We are bouncing all over the place.
It is the case that I often jump way too fast to assumptions, and then I totally miss things. So we'll jump all over the place here for a second.
You're all good.
But do you find that reframing for the sake of I mean, your language, reframing for the sake of feeling more achievement oriented is common for you?
Yeah, I think it happens a lot. It's something I do honestly to try to think of the best way to say this, but it's kind of what I do to survive. If I can reframe, it creates that sense of psychological safety for me that I create for myself that doesn't involve any sort of extrinsic motivation.
Today's Tuesday. Do you know what you're doing next Thursday?
Sure do. It's my first rehearsal back with choir.
Come on. How many students or people are you working with?
So our choir has 60, and we actually have a brand new director this year. So I'm really excited. I'm one
Nice.
of the paid section leaders for choir. So that'll
Yeah.
be a fun thing to get in and do.
Can you describe some of the gifts that you bring to that kind of atmosphere?
I tend to be seen as both the person who wants to bring the best out of everybody, very much that whole piece about authenticity, really making sure that everyone feels like they can just sing and not feel judged or criticized. But I also am very much, I'm an educator. So I go to that idea of, okay, let's think clarity. How can we get to the goal that we have set? How do we backward plan from there to get there? So they also know me as being very detailed, focused, periodically regimented, um, but also very fun loving and caring and reliable.
It's a long list of great attributes.
Well, thanks. I have a hard time talking about myself, so this is all very foreign for me.
When you serve people,
Mm-hmm.
it seems like you're bringing a lot to the relationships that you have, and obviously longing to kind of care for others and help them learn and grow. Do you expect them to reciprocate? Do you have expectations on how somebody will show you care in return?
That's such a good question, and it's a complicated answer. So if you were to ask me point blank like that, I would say no, absolutely not. I'm selfless. I will 100% give all of myself to everybody else and expect nothing in return. But that's a
Mm-hmm.
lie. I do get resentful if I feel like I'm pouring myself into other people and nothing comes back. I don't expect reciprocity on like a 50-50 sort of level, but I do hope that if I'm giving of myself, that other people will choose to also give back.
Yeah. Is the giving back, is it more, do you prefer like the verbal outspoken acknowledgments, or do you actually want to be cared for
It's
tangibly?
tangibly. It's more
Yeah.
important for me to just have a person that I know is there versus
Hmm.
having somebody that either one showers me with praise and affirmation or tries to solve a problem for me. That's a huge thing for me. I can't handle when people try to solve my problems for me. That's like an instant wall comes up and I shut down. Um but I do really appreciate when someone is willing to sit in the dark with me. And there are very few people. I'm trying to say the I can't get the statement out. Oh my gosh.
Oh, I hear what you're saying. Go ahead.
Yeah. I basically there are very few and far between. There are people that can actually do that where they are okay just kind of sitting in the muck without trying to fix it. And that those are the kind of relationships that I tend to gravitate to are the ones where they don't try to fix me. They just sit with me in it and allow me to just be me.
Yeah. Do you find that you sound like you're somebody who actually would have a lot of acquaintances, but would you describe yourself as only having a small circle of trust and people who are
Yes.
of that sort?
I can count on one hand the amount of people who fully see all of me.
Yeah. Bang. Do you feel like you present as somebody who gives most of yourself, but you hold back some
Yes.
of,
Yes,
and that's
very, very
is,
much so.
and you're aware of that.
I am very aware of that. It's something
Yeah.
I'm actively working on. I tend to be the person that will be the first. I'll be the first person there if somebody needs something. I'll be the first person to
Hmm.
give the shirt off my back. I'll be the first person to help you move into your house. But if I need something, you best bet I'm not asking. I can't. I don't know how. I want to, but I don't know
Yeah.
how.
Bang. Do you find that when things really break in your life, do you find that your energy gets up and you become more assertive? Or when things really break, do you kind of look for somewhere to hide? Or is it something else?
It's
Like
kind of
when,
it's kind of both.
okay.
I would say if I looked at it more in as far as like percentages, I would say probably 60% of the time I retreat. I go to my own space, I go internal, I process inside, I think through all the things internally. And then I only share if I feel like I have wrapped my brain around it. The rest of the time, if I'm not handling things in my typical default, that's when I will tend to be a little bit more I don't want to say extroverted. It's not extroverted, but more external in my communication of the things that are stressing me out. But majority of the time I'm more avoidant in that sense. I tend to be a little bit more internal.
Do you ever feel like, do you have a mama bear gear when it comes to being defensive for?
I tend to be more defensive for other people than I am defensive for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
I'm very big on making sure that people are treated fairly and justly. And if I notice that people are not being treated in a way that seems equitable across the board, I will be the first person to call it out. I'm not afraid to be like, hey, so-and-so over there is clearly not being invited to the party. Let's invite them to the party. Or if I hear something that's said that is really exclusive, I will be the first person to course correct it. So it's, yeah.
Perfect. Do you find that you prefer to solve problems with a little bit of optimism? Like, things will probably be okay.
Yeah, I think so. It's weird because it's a little both. I try to be silver lining kind of person where if I'm experiencing a hardship, I don't want to live in the dark all the time. But that's a learned behavior. My default is to just be sad. Be sad, live in the sad. Be upset, live in the upset. Dig in deep. Hold on tight, sit in the darkness. But I've taught myself to be more positive when I approach those things because it's more palatable. I feel like particularly in corporate America, where I do the majority of my work, they better receive Tigger than Eeyore, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. Would you describe yourself as having more of an naturally an Eeyore personality?
No, I wouldn't. Not fully to that extent. I'm maybe more of an owl or a rabbit. Maybe rabbit. Yes, little neurotic, overthinker.
Neurotic overthinker. Bang. Is it the case that do you have a hard time stopping?
Yeah. I never stop. I work 3 jobs.
And you have 3 degrees as well.
I do.
There you
Apparently
go.
3 is a lucky number for me.
Might come back to that.
Yeah.
Before we get there, you said you overthink things.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about overthinking things.
Like I had kind of explained before, when things get tough, I do tend to go internal. And in that intrinsic internal sort of focus, I tend to look at things from multiple angles. And almost, this isn't ideal, but a lot of times I look at the things that I did right, wrong, how I could have approached things differently. I will look at every little nuance in the situation and go, oh, if I would have done that differently, maybe it would have turned out this way. Or if I tried this, maybe this would have happened. And a lot of times when I verbalize that thought process out loud to people, they think it's because I'm trying to like shirk the responsibility or dodge something. And it's not. I'm literally trying to figure out like, what do I do going forward to act and make things better?
So overthinking for you is more about what you're going to do as opposed to perhaps overthinking other people's overthinking the relationships that you have.
I tend to, if I do start to overthink people, like people related things, I usually just ask. If I get the sense of like, oh, this might seem off-putting to this person, I'll say, hey, is that off-putting? Did I say the wrong thing here? Let's talk.
Yeah. Do you find that you apologize much?
That's another thing that I've learned to stop doing as much, but default, yes, definitely an apologizer. But now I've worked through that I apologize when I mean the apology, if I'm genuinely apologetic. If I'm not, then I don't want to toss empty platitudes into the ether, basically, because it's really important to me that people know that if I'm saying I'm sorry, I mean it.
Yeah. Would you describe yourself as a detail-oriented person at all?
Yes, mostly. So I like details when it comes to aesthetics. I like making sure that things are done well. I don't like making mistakes, but I wouldn't say that I'm the person that could live in a spreadsheet all day and look at tiny data points and try to identify trends. I'm more of like a big picture detail person, which sounds very weird, but I hope that makes sense.
I I am myself a big picture person, so
Yeah.
I know
I get
exactly
into
what
the
that feels like.
details, but it's more about how do we execute the overall vision more so than it is about all the little minute details.
Yeah. Do you find that you're very judgmental?
Not really. I can be if it's something that is polar opposite of my moral compass, but I tend to be a person who I try to bring people together to seek to understand and find some sort of middle ground compromise a lot of the time.
Hmm.
I may have really strong opinions, but I don't try to make my opinions the only opinions.
Perfect. Do you find that you experience much anxiety?
Does the giggle answer the question?
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm a very anxious person.
Okay. What are can you put your finger on some of the causes or
It's anything that makes me feel like I'm out of control. Control is a big thing for me. I like to
okay.
have a pulse on all the things happening around me because that makes me feel safer.
Sure. Do you find that the things that you're anxious about spill out in what you say to Caleb?
Can you ask that a slightly different way?
Do you find that you're talking a lot to Caleb about the things that make you anxious?
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
Maybe in the past more, but now, no, I tend to, if I am anxious, I tend to keep it pretty inside.
Okay. Bang. Do you focus much on the past?
No, I'm very future oriented.
Okay. Do you find that you have a self-critical streak?
Oh, yeah. Yes, very
What
much.
does it look like for you?
I put a lot of pressure on myself to meet my own standards, and my own standards are much higher than the standards that other people set for me. And when I don't meet those standards, I tend to feel like a failure. And that's when I tend to go kind of dark side and retreat and think about what I did wrong and how to fix it.
Can you talk about going dark side?
I have a really hard time with failure. Failure has always been a really tough thing for me. It's not that I'm afraid to fail, it's the disappointment that comes after the failure because I typically try to do everything beforehand to prevent the failure.
Hmm.
And so when a failure occurs, I tend to really beat myself up over it and retreat inward and frankly feel kind of sorry for myself because I it's already happened. I can't fix it. I can't go back and do all the preventative measures to make sure I don't say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing, look silly. So, yeah, it dark side for me is less obvious from the outside. It's all internal. It's a lot of internal turmoil.
Do you find that you connect to others by pulling them into doing the things that you're most excited about?
No. I was trying to think about that as you were describing it, but no, not really. I tend to connect with people when we're doing things that they love.
Okay.
And I love being a person to try new things and support people when they're doing something they really care about. And so I tend to feel more connected to other humans when we're doing things that they're passionate about.
Would that characterize how things work for you and Caleb? Is he doing stuff that you're kind of responding to?
He and I are really interesting. The way that we approach life is very interesting because we're a very insular unit as far as like our coupling. Like we are very similar in how we show up with one another. We're both introverted. We're both more homebodies. We would much prefer the company of a furry companion than other humans most of the time. We're both also very artsy feelings kind of people. Like we process really deep emotions. And so he's kind of my safe place for all of that. And he's starting to open up more to me in that way too. But yeah, that's when it comes to Caleb and I feel like that's the one place I can just be completely me is with him.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a high value on being seen by other people for your authentic self?
Yes, very much so. I'm
And
very much a
does that
person that I want
come
people to, what they see is what they get. I don't want people to guess with me.
right? Do you find that you kind of live inside yourself in that way? Like that your emotions are how do I want to say this? Now let me pause
I
there.
think I have an idea of where you might be going, and you can tell
Yeah,
me if I'm wrong.
go ahead.
I feel really big emotions, but I
Mm-hmm.
keep them all inside of me. So no one would
Okay.
know that I'm feeling all the big things
Mm-hmm.
because I keep them very close to the vest and I only let them out in just little tiny spurts to people I really trust. And I can think of 3 people right now that
Mm-hmm.
I let that out to.
Do you have because of that? Do you have a hard time engaging in arguments?
I'm comfortable engaging in arguments, but what I tend to do with arguments is I tend to try to find a way where we can all find some middle ground
Okay.
rather than trying to push the case that my way is the only way.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times when I do that, I'm very much a questioner. When I'm in arguments, I'm not a yeller or a retreat, slam the door kind of person. I'm very much like, okay, help me understand what happened here.
Is that a tactic, or do you find that you really see other people's position?
I really
The
see other
way.
people's positions.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think of the world in black and white. I think very gray.
Mm-hmm. How are we doing? We're on. It normally takes me about an hour to get my bearings before we actually go anywhere. But
That's totally fine.
you're giving me so much to think about. What are the sorts of things that make you the most happy?
Being creative, being able to take something from nothing and make it into something tangible, whether that's tangible as far as making music or if it's something like with my career, creating a really engaging training and seeing in the end result, oh, hey, this is engaging and helpful and people learn. I am also really passionate about helping people find who they are and really digging in deep with other people to help them become more self-actualized and more self-aware. I I love tough conversations, not tough aggressive tough, but tough like vulnerable, deep. The stuff that a lot of people don't want to talk about are the things I like to talk about the most. I'm also I get really energetic and excited when I get to explore, when I get to do things with my husband. We do this thing where we just choose a random thing we've never done before and we just go. We don't look into it much, we just do it. And it's just created a lot of really interesting adventures and new favorite places and Yeah. I just like to live and see the world. I like to see the world for what it really is, all the beauty that comes from it in its natural state.
Is making other people happy a primary for you?
Probably, I wouldn't say it's my number one, but I do certainly like to keep the people around me happy.
Do you ever find yourself kind of like pulling people out of? You had talked about sitting in the muck being
Mhm.
of value, that you appreciated others' ability to do that.
Mhm.
Do you do that for other people, or would you prefer to pull them out of the muck and go somewhere else?
I am more of a sit in it with them
Sort of
kind of
person.
person. I don't try to change how other people feel. I
Hmm.
allow them to feel the feelings they feel
Hmm.
with an occasional joke here and there, just to lighten it a little.
That's fair.
Yep.
Do you find are people points of interest for you on that front? Like, do you enjoy like kind of observing them in that sense, or is it something else?
I like observing people. I like to see how people act and what makes them tick and see how they show up in different situations, but for me, it's more of that closeness that you get from somebody when you uncover a truth basically that they have been keeping like really bottled up. That I think that's part of why I like to sit in the muck with people is because I get to see their more of their truth rather than the facade or the mask that they put on to be more palatable for the rest of the world.
Hmm. You reading a book right now?
Say that again?
I said, are you reading a book right now?
Multiple.
What book? What books are you reading?
So, one that I have right now, I'm going to turn around to look at it really quick because I can't
Right?
remember the name. The Book of Alchemy. I'm actually in a book
Oh.
club right now where we are doing, because the book is full of journal prompts based
Hmm.
on different subjects. And so I'm in this book club and it's people of all these different ages and backgrounds. And we just come together and talk about our experience as we're reading this book and journaling all of the things. And it's been really, really neat.
Do you have any need to impress the people in your book club with the things, your insights?
Unfortunately, yes,
Yeah, that's it.
I do. I really like being seen as intelligent. It's important to
Right?
me.
Bang. Do you find that you connect to other people by sharing things that you know?
Do you mean things that I know as far as like just experiences I have, knowledge that I've acquired over the years,
Yeah.
all the above?
Yeah, all of the above is right.
Yeah, I do. I like to share my knowledge and expertise a lot. That's how I ended up in learning and development, instructional design, all that fun stuff. I like helping other people grow too.
Tammy, this is the problem is you're using way too many buzzwords for way too many different types, and it's
Sorry.
throwing me off.
You can ask me if you want to ask like more like deeper things, feel free to ask.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm of all things, I feel like we're sitting in the right kind of spot. I may just be more. I have a feel for some of the answers that you're giving. I'm gonna just be. It's just gonna feel like I'm getting a lot more buzzwordy with my Enneagram. So, actually, let's talk Enneagram for a second. We're
Yeah.
almost 50 minutes in. Tell me what you know about the Enneagram and what your experience has been so far, and we can kind of
Yeah.
move around that space.
So I first learned about the Enneagram just over a decade ago, I would say. I can't remember the exact year, but I saw someone had posted a little quiz that they took. And I was like, I just want to take this and see what I get. Just out of curiosity, because I've always been that person like Myers Briggs and DISC and all the things. I just like to know kind of where I fit in the puzzle.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, I took that quiz. I got a type, thought it was right, was not right.
Right, and you knew it was not right.
I knew at the moment it felt right. And
Hmm.
then when I was around other people who are like, yes, that is very much my type through and through, I'm like, oh, we are very different. We
Hmm.
are very, very different in how we approach things.
Bang.
generally I tended to, before what I think my type is, you may correct me and tell me I am wrong, but before I got to where I'm at now, I I basically looked at all the traits that I brought to the table. No, I know that Enneagram focuses more on motivation, but my brain went traits, traits. Okay, so you're responsible, you're detail oriented, you're this, you're this, you're this. So you must be this.
Mm-hmm.
And then it never fully gelled for me
Yeah.
until I looked at childhood wounds. And childhood wounds is what took me a very different direction than what I thought.
Sure. Like it pointed out what might be moving your motivation, your
Yeah.
understanding of childhood wounds.
Yes, that, and looking over some of like the general statements for each type for childhood wounds. The types that I had thought I was in the past, I'm reading the childhood wounds and I'm going, I don't see myself in that at all. And then I saw one for the type that I believe that I am and sat there and cried for a very long time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's helpful.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I'm very glad that you're kind of holding this close to the chest for a second.
I don't want to influence you in any way, because if you see some things differently based on what I'm talking to you about,
Yeah.
you're going to see things different than how I'm processing them in my brain. So,
Well, let me do this, especially since you're informed, and I can just tell you kind of the things that I see off the bat and where I would go. I naturally, most of my questions started with heart triad stuff just because you had kind of hinted at comparison, envy, the way that others were engaging you. And so I sat there for a long while. Your relationship with authenticity was one that I was circling for a while and not getting what I wanted out of it. I moved a little bit to oneness just because you had emphasized standards and feeling like a failure in your moral compass, a desire to fix things. Moving into the dark side when you feel like a failure, that would be a very one-ish move. It could be the case that you believe that being gray is a better way to go than being black and white. So it's kind of in that space for a bit. I don't think that that's off the table, but if you listen to some of my other recordings, I think everybody's a one because I read my motivation to everybody else. So I don't want to do that. Here at the end, there's some 5 questions that keep kind of singing for me throughout as well. I could see 5-ness in some of your responses. I'm moving off of 2, 3, 4 just because when you talk about happiness and when you talk about kind of like the things you're aiming at, I'm not hearing a ton about the relational elements of your life. It sounds like you have a lot of relationships that you love and care and support people, but not in the way that I would guess.
this is very fun for me.
Yeah, no, it should. I'm gonna look for anything else that I want to say here. I have had 0, 2, 5s, and 8s come to do these yet, and I'm curious about that recently. In terms of, I think 2s, 5s, and 8s expect rejection in relationships, and I think that they may actually just know. And so the 2 and the 5 kind of are there. It doesn't seem, I tried to ask a handful of 8 questions. It didn't seem like you wanted to go there. But so if I was making a guess, the places that I would want to explore more, yeah, I'm just kind of all over the place. I'm just all over the place. So, which doesn't happen to me very often. I normally can at least get down to 3, but I'm kind of in that space. And so what I was going to do is I was just going to pivot to really direct questions. So
Be direct by all means.
It's like, so the fact that you're hanging back a little bit also is intriguing to me. It sounded like at first I really thought you were a 3 and I thought that was just a slam dunk. But you're not promoting yourself in the way that I was at times in the way that I would associate with threeness.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find it difficult to promote yourself?
Very much so. It's very uncomfortable.
That's what I was going to guess.
Yep.
But
I actually just reopened my voice studio and I'm having to do all the self-promotion right now. And it is the most awkward thing I've done in a very long time.
Yeah. Bang. And yet you find you're comparing yourself to others a lot. Is that an observational comparison? Or does that feel like an emotional comparison?
Ooh, probably a little bit of both. I would assume from my side of things, I tell myself stories about people that I do compare myself to. I tend to compare myself to people who are more successful in the things I want to be successful in.
Mm-hmm.
And when I look at those, I think, okay, what am I doing differently that is holding me back? But I don't think that necessarily, I think that thought process doesn't come from rationality. It comes from emotion.
I'm sorry, say that one more time. I missed that. That was important.
No, that's okay. When I do think about those things and when I am comparing myself, it comes out. Oh, how did I say it? When I'm comparing myself, it comes out more rationally, but it probably internally, it's more emotional. It comes from a place of deep insecurity.
Mm-hmm. Do you find it difficult to get into your body and do productive things?
Very much so.
Yeah.
I am almost constantly in my head.
Okay. Let's cross one off then.
You said you crossed off one?
Yeah.
That was my first one I typed as, and I realized it wasn't right.
Yeah. The excitement to explore is interesting to me. And that was another one-ish kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I tried to ask you some 7-ish questions, but the getting into your body, you had said that you're in your head, and I took that as unproductive thinking as opposed to something else. What did you say? You seem so upbeat and for a 4.
Mm-hmm.
And the desire to reframe envy, I would want to say that 4s normally don't want to reframe their negative emotions, especially towards achievement. But I could see other types maybe doing that. That was an interesting phrase. I don't know if you want to talk about that experience a little bit more, but
what phrase specifically that you want me to elaborate on?
I had asked if you were, so you have a high value for authenticity and being your full true self. All of that really sings of 4ness and experiencing envy. But you had also talked about wanting to reframe your envious experiences.
Yeah, I think it's more of a want because I try to always think about how I can get past things. I want to move forward. I want to feel the things I feel. And I don't want anyone to I hate when people cheer me up. If someone's like, oh, you're sad, let me cheer you up. Let me tell you jokes. Leave me alone. Just let me process. Let me figure it out. Let me feel the things. I will come out of it. I will come out of it. So yeah, that's a big piece of that for me. The upbeatness sometimes comes a little bit from my performative nature as being a music kid, a theater kid. I know if I'm on a stage, if I have a camera in front of me, if I'm talking to somebody, I'm going to give them a little bit more energy and a little bit more of what my brain perceives as being interesting than how I may come off when I'm just hanging out with Caleb, for example.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of where I'm circling then. I'm circling 4 and 5 is where I would go. Do you have thoughts on that? So it sounds like you're somewhat familiar with Enneagram. Does that sound, would those have been places that you're kind of circling as well? Okay.
Yep.
Would those be 2 numbers that you think explicitly this is what you were kind of coming to the table with?
One of the 2, yes.
Okay. Well, there you go. One of the 2. What's your other number, just in case?
The other side of one of those numbers.
Okay. You were, it would be a 3 or 6?
Yes.
Well, we can, if it's 3, 4, 5, and 6, I would love to sit on 4 and 5 for a second. Your relationship with anxiety is everybody can have anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I still need to develop more vocabulary around that. The thing with sixness, if you thought you might be a six, is you're not talking to Caleb about your anxieties, which would be a very common thing for sixes.
There was a period
And
of time where I would seek validation from Caleb as
okay.
far as to have somebody tell me that I'm overthinking it.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't so much about just being like, I'm anxious, I'm anxious, I'm anxious. This is what I'm anxious about. This is another thing I'm anxious about. A lot of that tended to stay internal. I would more reach out and be like, am I losing my mind, or is this, and this actually happening?
Do you find that you say, am I losing my mind very often?
Oh gosh.
I mean that, or let me restate that. Not that
I'm
you're saying that
self-deprecating
exact
if
thing.
that's where you're going.
Yeah. No, but is that a feeling like, do you have a difficult time trusting your thinking and want validation for your thinking?
Sometimes. It depends on what it is. There are some things that I am so confident and secure in that nobody could tell me any different. I believe what I believe, and that is it. But there are other things. I try to be very self-aware and very open to learning, growing, adapting. And so a lot of times I'll ask those questions to uncover if maybe I have a blind spot, which we all do. So a lot of times my questions will come from trying to see if there's something I'm not seeing, I'm not aware of, that I'm like kind of doubling down and trying to be like, my way's right, but I'm not seeing the full picture.
I assume 6 was your other number then, yeah?
Mm-mm.
No, 3 was your other number?
3. Yep.
Okay, bang. Perfect.
Yep. 6 is up there too. What makes it complicated, I'm going to overshare just a tiny bit because I may give you a little bit of understanding too.
Yeah. Couple things. Trauma breaks all the rules.
Mm-hmm.
And so lo and behold, I'm having trouble
Makes sense why it's so complicated.
the things.
Mm-hmm.
It is the case that motive still kind of lies underneath in my view. And especially in terms of how you function, naming what you want most still matters, and you can still find some worthwhile language for it. So, but it may be the case, as you're seeing, and I'm thrilled that you connected with us. It may be the case it takes a little bit longer. And to be honest, the win is not finding a number. The win is being a happy person, healthy person, finding your best self,
Yep.
And so it may be the case that Enneagram's helpful on that front, and it may not be. So I say that to throw that away, but to just remind myself that that's also kind of what we're targeting. So
Yeah.
Can be the case that I would love to sit around then 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah.
There for you, because that seems like a worthy space. I would love to sit with 4 and 5 for a second, just because it's not that 3s can't come to the spot where they have a difficult time self-promoting, because they obviously can. That's an interesting thing to me that I want to hold off on though. Yeah. But so you may know this, we did a book. The physical copy has mistyping charts. By the way, friends, Kindle doesn't, because we couldn't make it work. But our section on 4s and 5s has just 30 comparisons, and I'll just read a handful of them. I'd love your thoughts if any of these stand out to you. And we've used some of these buzzwords before, so it may feel like it's redundant. But think about 4s is 4s want to feel authentic. 5s often want to feel capable. I heard both those things in your language. Do you resonate with one of those?
I resonate with both pretty equally, honestly.
Yeah. And as we go through this list, I bet you that's going to happen a lot. And that's really common. So 4s often will lead with their emotional life. 5s can often lead with analysis. Do you find that you lead with your head or your heart more?
My heart.
4s will often feel in order to understand the world. 5s are often going to think in order to understand the world.
Both.
Bing.
Yeah.
4s are often going to crave emotional resonance. And fives are often going to crave something like intellectual clarity.
Emotional resonance through and through.
Fours often want to reveal their pain, but that may be to just limited folks. Fives will often retreat from pain. Do either of those hit you?
It's an in-between of the two. So when I feel pain, I do tend to retreat, but it's to process inward to eventually be able to kind of like summarize it all together to be able to talk to someone I feel safe talking to.
Mm-hmm. Fours often value the subjective, and fives often are looking for the objective. Do you have a...
I'm more objective than subjective most of the time.
That's what I was thinking as well. So good. I'm glad you answered that way, because that now I feel like
I'm glad I affirmed you.
Is kind of on par here. Fours often want to be known. Fives often want to be undisturbed.
Known, for sure.
Okay,
that's actually that. Wow, that actually just hit me like a ton of bricks.
You want to talk about why?
Yeah, I don't feel like any person actually knows me.
Yeah.
The whole of me. Caleb is the closest. But there's still so much that I veil because it feels overwhelming. The things that I feel on the inside feel so overwhelming, and I don't want to be the person that comes out and just dumps it onto somebody else. And so I tend to keep a little bit of a wall up, not a significant wall. Like the important things we certainly talk about. I just don't tell him every emotion I feel all the time, because sometimes they're just not productive emotions either. They're just there.
Yeah. This is totally for the listener, but she went with the 4 option, and that was the fiviest way of talking about the 4 option you could have articulated. This is also why it's good to go through this book with other people, but that's very clarifying the way that you said that. Fours often reveal their vulnerability. Fives will often resist their vulnerability.
Resist.
Fours often overfeel in order to find the truth. Fives are going to often overthink in order to find something like safety.
Both.
Yeah.
It depends on the day, and it depends on what it is.
Right. Fours are often going to speak in order to be recognized. Fives are often going to speak in order to be understood.
Both.
I felt like you described something early on about really wanting, well, I guess both of them. Yeah.
It is both. I do think there is something about feeling like the contributions that I'm bringing to the table are valued and recognized.
Mm-hmm.
So that may be part of it too.
I think that's important. The contributions being recognized. Fours often absorb others emotionally. Fives often detach from others emotionally.
Absorb through and through.
Well, that's important. Fours often struggle with feeling flawed. Fives often struggle with feeling inadequate.
Flawed.
And that's what I heard also. Fours often seek meaning. Fives often seek mastery.
Meaning.
Fours often
with mastery being very close second.
Yeah, right?
Yep.
Fours often crave intensity, and fives often crave understanding.
Understanding.
Bang. Fours often dwell on past experiences. Fives often dwell on past analysis.
Neither.
Ooh.
I know.
We've talked a little bit about, off mic, we talked a little bit about some of your relationships in the past.
Mm-hmm.
That ends up being something I think important, because even if they're unspoken, they're held with a lot of, I assume they're held with a lot of value.
Yeah.
Fours often turn pain into their identity. Fives often turn privacy into their identity.
Probably more pain, but I don't see it really. It's not big on either side for me.
Perfect. There's 15 of these others, which you'll have to buy the book to get.
Oh, of course, and I will.
I would love to look at 3s and 4s and just hear what comes out, because I bet you'll expose a lot more. I'm more suspicious of 3, but who knows? I think the motive underneath may come out, and it may be the case that I don't know if you've looked at, like, gotten far enough to look at subtypes and
I
dominant
have.
instincts, but but that could color how 3ness comes out as well. So, but 3s often want to be admired. 4s often want to be authentic. Do either of those hit you more?
More about authenticity than it is about being admired. I want people to admire me for my authentic self.
Yes. Well, and and of all things, being married to a 3 myself, that's exactly what she wants. 3s often long to inspire others. 4s often long to connect deeply.
Connect deeply.
3s often perform in order to impress. 4s often express in order to reveal something about themselves.
Both.
Perfect.
When I will say that the 3 description appears more at work, the 4 appears more throughout the rest of my life.
I think that's a really important distinction to make in terms of your motive and why that might happen.
With my, especially too, because my work is so opposite. Like my 9 to 5 job is it's corporate. It's a corporate, strict sort of environment where my other career is all about creativity and doing all those different things. So I feel like I show up as 2 different people sometimes.
I'm pausing for a minute because I'm all of a sudden I'm trying to find out where. Are you trying to win next Thursday? Like, is that
I am
passion
definitely
for you?
competitive for sure.
Yeah. Bang. 3s often take pride in their successes. 4s often take pride in their differences.
Differences.
3s often chase admiration. 4s often crave intimacy.
Intimacy.
3s often merge with ambition, and 4s often merge with longing.
Ooh. Oof. It's both. It's really both. I think that's another instance, like work, my 2 different careers. It shows up slightly differently in each one.
Perfect. 3s often feel shame over failure, and 4s often feel shame over their identity.
Failure.
3s often feel most alive when admired. 4s often feel most alive when they're moved.
Moved.
Would you talk about that?
I ask the question one more time. I just want to make sure I'm getting all the appropriate contextual clues in there.
I think it's like, you feel most invigorated when somebody else admires you, or you feel most alive when, like, your emotions are hit with something that's real.
Yeah, I definitely still think it's feeling moved. And I think a lot of that comes from my musical background. The reason why I was drawn to music in the first place is it makes you feel something. And as somebody who tried for the longest time to kind of shove down the feelings because it wasn't seen as okay, I found I was able to let my emotions free when I was making music, listening to music, writing, reading, like all those more creative endeavors is when I was able to truly feel free.
Bang. That's perfect. Again, some of the things that are going to come up feel like we've already hit them, but I think they're important. 3s often want to avoid failure. 4s often want to avoid superficiality.
It's both. But I think right now, if I think about it holistically, I think if someone else answered that for me, they would say failure.
3s often charm in order to connect. 4s often reveal in order to connect.
Reveal.
3s often perform. 4s often disclose. Real similar there, but
And those are they're pretty similar. I disclose if I feel safe. Otherwise, it's perform.
right. 3s are often energized by the spotlight. 4s are often energized by self-expression.
Self-expression.
I think so. The place my mind goes, and I think this is a good place to to say, here's some next steps. I don't think the win today is to say, yeah, you're a 4, you should go to the bank with this. I
Mm-hmm.
do think it's worth saying that given what you kind of said about your own journey and how you come to the world, what I'm hearing is that there's a lot of balancing taking place, especially if from early on your own self-expression was very much pushed aside. So if coming to the world in a way where you want others to see your authentic self was something that you experience a lot of negativity around, it would make sense that you would balance in some other ways. A lot of the stuff that I'm seeing through that 3-4, wing can be real common for some, but of all things, especially people with microphones on stage who are singing, this is really common for them to be on that 4-3 line either way.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally can name 30 people who are very famous, who you would know, who are either a 3 or a 4 and really push into the other number. I think it's the case that a lot of the language that you have, about your own inner life and your connection to your inner life is a place to do just some work. And that may be like, I don't know that I've said this once in my mistyping stuff, and you may already be doing this, but that may be something to really process with somebody who's professional. Some of the things I think that would be good and it strikes me that you have, at least in terms of what you're saying, it sounds like you have a very loving, supportive environment that you're in. It sounds like you have people that care about you.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like you're a happy person. You seem much more happy than most 4s that I talk to. Um, so, and I'm talking to you, Mother Shed. It seems to me that looking at some of the next step would be kind of putting on the 4 glasses and just seeing if it actually moves you forward at all. So in terms of things that would be valuable to
Mm-hmm.
you, but I think you like you've naturally developed a bunch of tools already of balancing. And in my view, that's actually what a healthy person does look like, is that they are pushing into some of that 3 and that 5 space. They are
Mm-hmm.
pushing. I heard like, as was said, and you already mistyped as a 1. If you're mistyping as a 1, it means that you have some sense of security that in your self-perception, and that's
Mm-hmm.
not very common for 4s. So that, like, just, as it stands, that's a good thing.
I'm a
I think,
4 who's been through a lot of therapy though, too.
yeah.
So I think that's part of it too. A lot of those tools come to
Okay.
play. You were landing where I've landed myself as
Okay.
well.
Boom. Good. Well,
Mm-hmm.
if I hope this is helpful then on that front.
Yeah,
It
it's
does
affirming.
feel that I initially thought you were a 2 for a while there, and most of
Mm-hmm.
it is your home life sounds like it's a place where you go to restore and recover, and that looks like high side 2 would look like you caring for a bunch of cats. Like that actually feels really, really healthy that you are
Mm-hmm.
able to pour yourself out for animals on that in that way. And all of this strikes me as,
2 was another type I
grounded.
mistyped as.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is also real common.
Mm-hmm.
But it's unfortunately in America, especially in, I would guess in Michigan, I bet you a lot of women mistype as 2s just because
Yep,
there's a lot of overlap with cultural expectations.
indeed. Yep.
Well, that's what I got. You got any questions for me? Anything like on 4ness that has confused you, or like, since it sounds like you have done a lot of work, so like
Yeah, I
what
think
has kept you back from that?
I think the one thing on my side of things that offered me a bit more clarity was subtypes.
Hmm.
And it was only probably within the past month, maybe 2 months, that I started really digging into subtypes. And when I read about the self-preservation 4,
Hmm.
that read very much how I show up, with a lot of the traits and behaviors appearing as a 1 or a 3 or even sometimes an 8.
Hmm.
but ultimately all of the motivations go back to that fourness. And when I really dug into that self-preservation four, I felt seen for the first time in 38 years.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Bang. Well, on that front, I'm thrilled that we landed there. I was feeling like a very bad Enneagram
No.
typer.
No. I'm so incredible. Like I said, when we first started, I am a walking contradiction. A lot of the things that I do are just very opposite of each other. And it's really hard to, it's kind of hard to navigate sometimes.
Yeah, that's perfectly said. And any other, I suppose, I don't know how else to end aside from any other questions about fourness. If like next steps, anything come to mind?
I guess the thing I would be wondering, as somebody who I don't present like a four. I don't.
No, you
Anyone
do
who
not.
knows me would not go to four first. I didn't go to four first.
Right.
But I'm really curious how I can start to not compartmentalize some of the things, like some of the bigger emotions. Like envy, for example, is definitely one that bubbles up a lot. And I tend to just shove it down because it's not productive. But I think there's also a more productive way to deal with the envy than to push it down. So I don't know if from your standpoint or what you've done, if you know have any suggestions about how to dig into really being authentic with that fourness and letting some of that out in a more controlled way, I guess. So it's not just whoosh, here are all my emotions.
Yeah. That's a good way to say that, because oftentimes fours have the opposite problem. They understand that they're being way too outspoken. They're being too much with their emotional life. And so if you've had experiences that have like taught you to know I need to keep that bottled up, then you're exactly right. So things that strike me there is that finding ways to place your emotions into physical actions and creativity as you do is a great way to do this, and is pushing into those places that are a little bit more secure and elevating your repressed center. So the more that you can name physical habits that you do that are very creative in orientation, and kind of carving out the space and saying, I'm going to execute, I'm going to do this, that would be a great way to habitually get your emotions into places where it's not just flooding the zone with your inner life, but actually putting some tangible flesh to them can be a real benefit, not only to yourself, but it actually can be a huge benefit to others. Because one of the things that fours really bring to the world is exposing some of the beauty's depths that the rest of us just miss. And that can be a good way to be in the world. And that also allows you to balance more with your repressed center. So if on the four side, getting into your body habitually, and I really want to emphasize habit here, like what are the habits that really get your hands moving and you working? What threw me completely off is you seem like a very forward focused person, and that's just not very fourish. Fours love living in the past and everything that's happened, and and can have a difficult time getting into the future. So that's again something I don't know where else you're drawing it from except for your security number, or maybe pushing really hard into three space. But I think you're really set up well on these fronts in terms of at least what you expressed as your present habits. So
I appreciate that.
bing. Tammy, it's been a delight meeting you. So
Likewise.
I'm very thankful that you reached out to us. I'm very thankful we got to connect. This has been a wonderful conversation. This was not the gymnastics that I had expected today. And so
You're welcome.
I'm glad that we kind of landed in a place that at least I'm going to walk away going, okay, that worked.
Yeah.
Do keep in touch.